Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay and welcome to Be Royal Rebellion, episode 6, I think. Um, Today I wanted to talk about the body. Uh, Generally speaking, we kind of think that we can manipulate our bodies and biohack and um, override our body's natural systems without any kind of consequences. Because again, this is a free will zone, so even though we were made with bodies that are supposed to operate with a certain type of nutrients and movement and energy fields, instead we kind of do whatever we want and act like we don't have to pay the price for it because the price doesn't always come immediately, right? Um, but ultimately, the body keeps the score. There is a book called The Body Keeps the Score, but I've never read it. So I don't know if this might seem redundant, but I like to frame it within the lens of what is wisdom, right? What's wisdom for the body? Because if we have the body in good working condition, then it kind of sets a stage for us to be able to thrive in a variety of ways. It gives us choices. You know, if you had a vehicle, if you had a car, and you were told you only got one car through this whole life, you would take care of it, right? You wouldn't just drive really recklessly. You wouldn't put shit in its gas tank. You would use, what it's designed to run on. So, but for some reason, we don't really apply that kind of logic to biologics. I don't know why, um, but it is what it is. So, I want to talk about like what is wisdom as applied to the body, because oftentimes our bodies end up being something that's almost uh, prohibiting for us rather than liberating. Like it's supposed to be a vehicle for our souls to do all kinds of things and experience all kinds of things so that we can learn all kinds of lessons. But we kind of just treat it like a less important thing than the spirit itself. And I don't really think that that's a wise approach. Um, so when I think about wisdom, today I was thinking a lot about birth. I'm a birth doula and childbirth educator. And, I see how many times there's a situation with a mom where, maybe she's scared to give birth or she's got some concerns and some like serious fears. And instead of maybe diving into the knowledge about those fears, instead it's more of like a reaction based, I'm making my birth plan because like I need this, right? A lot of women will say, well, you don't get a trophy for natural birth, or um, there's no award for natural birth, or you're not doing anything special just because you're putting yourself through the misery of a natural birth. But really, when you think about birth and the sequence of hormones, how you've got, endorphins, beta endorphins, catecholamines, and the oxytocin and the prolactin, and how delicate it is as it pertains to mother baby bonding and breast milk production. It's actually you kind of do get an award for going the natural route, only because you're giving your body the best chance that it can possibly have to be the best physiological nurturer to this baby as possible. I mean, like for instance, if you get a cesarean birth, which is birth, I'm not one of the people that thinks that if it's not a natural birth, it's not a birth. I mean, these cesareans are hard. They're hard to recover from. They're hard to endure. It's major surgery paired with a whirlwind of new motherhood, and I have a lot of grace for anybody who's had to endure it. But and so I'm not trying to offend anybody when I talk about the physiological aspects of birth or the way the body works in general. Like, you're all welcome to make whatever choices you want. We all basically are trying to create a balance to achieve some kind of homeostasis with our own particular subjective environment. So sometimes a mother has to make a choice for her own sanity or well-being that might not align with the biology, but it aligns with her spiritual needs, right? So I'm really not saying any kind of comments on what your balance is, because I don't live in your shoes and I don't have to deal with the consequences. So you do whatever you feel like is right for you. But I'm going to talk about like the physiological aspects, the biologics of birth for a second. When your body has a cesarean birth, it actually thinks that like the baby died. Like you didn't birth in a way that tells your body that you just delivered a baby in the way that it's typically designed to understand it. So then maybe you might have difficulty bonding. You might have difficulty creating breast milk. Maybe when the baby was not delivered through the birth canal, it wasn't exposed to the same amount of bacteria, the same kind of bacteria, and it can potentially affect the baby's microbiome in the future. I made a post earlier today about how we have widespread use of epidurals and Pitocin, and we don't even really ask questions, but those things have proven effects on oxytocin production, and oxytocin is what's needed for the baby and the mom to bond and for the mother to begin to make prolactin to allow her body to create breast milk. Epidurals and Pitocin affect oxytocin, but have never been studied for the long-term effects that they might have on postpartum depression or brain activity for babies. I mean, we all start out like needing to be nourished, whether we are a woman who grows to relate to others through oxytocin boosts, or whether we grow to be a man who generally then operates in more of a dopamine type of regulation type interactions. It doesn't matter, because as babies, we all need that oxytocin. That's the love hormone. And so we have really medicalized birth, and now we live in a culture where people are like lacking love for each other. We've really medicalized birth, and now we live in a culture where we need to be like educated on how to parent our tiny babies that really just need our full attention, because they have like such tiny little bellies, so they get hungry, so they eat, they get hungry again right away. Like that's just their biology. If they wake up a lot throughout the night, it's just the mechanism, and they're nursing, it's just their mechanism of co-regulating their nervous systems. Like the concept of putting a baby in a bedroom and letting them cry it out, and then expecting them to be like a healthy, adjusted human being as an adult, is just kind of crazy to me. I know you got to see it too. I mean, it's kind of like, too, I mentioned in another video about what is wisdom, like we drench our gardens in pesticides and then we eat that stuff. So, we drench our gardens in pesticides to kill predators and our garden pests, and then we eat that stuff. And then we're like, oh, cancer, Like, it doesn't have to be this way. Glyphosate doesn't have to be drenching all the soil in the United States. Soil mineral level has depleted astronomically. I think, I'm totally pulling off of these archives of my memory right now, but like, if I remember correctly, I think it was like the 70s or something, 60s or 70s, when they started tracking soil nutrients, because like private people were saying, not government agencies, but private people were saying our soil's depleted in minerals and we need to do something about it. And it was kind of ignored. And so once they started tracking it, the soil depletion was already at like something like 70%. Like it was already really bad when they started tracking it, and then it went down even further. And like, it feels like something's in my pant leg right here. Like a tag or something. Okay. And what I was getting at. Right. So soil nutrients, right? Soil nutrients is depleted, and we're still just kind of like not really enriching it. I mean, in the UK, I think composting is mandatory. I don't understand why those kinds of practices aren't mandatory here. I mean, like, I'm not on board with the global climate change agenda to enforce like all kinds of draconian laws. That's not my thing. I think that, like, I don't really need to talk about the cycle of the earth, but my point is that, like, we're really not operating in wisdom. I don't know how we can think that we can inject little babies with proven endocrine disruptors, carcinogens, and neurotoxins. I don't know why we think we can inject those into little babies and expect them to live their best lives or to be fully immunologically functional. I mean, we're not even using the typical detox pathways of the body. Like, generally, if you're going to take some kind of herb or medicine, you would apply it topically, or you would ingest it orally, or you would breathe it in. And those are all things that they're part of natural pathways that the body has, so that you can naturally detox these things. Now, if you're injecting something intramuscularly, it lingers in a different way. The body is not necessarily designed to detox things that are injected in that way. It's inevitably going to stress the kidneys and the liver. It's inevitably going to potentially cross the blood-brain barrier. I just don't really understand. I mean, it's full. And if you say, like, I don't really, I feel a certain way about injecting this stuff. They say, well, it's all proven to be safe and effective. But I mean, vaccines, for instance, they were tested against other vaccines that had the same neurotoxic, endocrine disrupting, what else? Adjuvants. So I don't really know why people think, there's a place for allopathic medicine, and it's really is a godsend in some ways, but to make that your primary method of controlling the population of the general public, I mean controlling the health of the general public, I just think is a sore lack of wisdom. Almost so much so that it makes me wonder, like, if it was contrived. Obviously, in my viewpoints, obviously I think that the world was colonized by people who look like people who actually want to throw us off in terms of fostering life. They want us to operate with a lack of wisdom, and I think they're really, really effective in that way. I don't know what makes people think we can eat food that isn't even really food. I mean, like, we're eating chemical byproducts, and we're like allowing them to put some synthetic shit in our food, and then when we find out that it's so bad, they change the name of it and put it back in a different way. Like, you get to a point where you have to stop thinking that you can trust other people with your health. You have to be the proprietor of your health. Nobody is going to care how you feel like you do. Nobody is going to protect your equitable assets like you do. So you owe it to yourself kind of to think about the things that you're consuming. Like, all right, I'm a mother of 4. This is not coffee. This is not coffee. I was on a coffee kick for a while, and I realized how bad caffeine is, because it basically steals your tomorrows. So, I like to operate in a different way energetically. I like to invest in my tomorrows rather than steal from my tomorrows. And so I cut caffeine, and I was like, I really love a hot, creamy drink. So I found this dandelion tea, and it's similar. Like the bitterness. It's got a little cacao nibs maybe, or I can't remember. Carob? Anyway. So it's got dandelion. It's a little cacao flavor maybe. I put some raw cream in here and some maple syrup, some real maple syrup, and now I am transforming my morning ritual. Well, I'm pretty deep into it now. It's been a while since I've been on caffeine, but like I've transformed my morning ritual. I've replaced caffeine with morning sunlight. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that morning sunlight has the effect it does on our bodies, on our melatonin production at night? You know, like this brings me to my next point. Lights. I have chickens. Do you know why they stop laying eggs from like mid-November to like January, end of January or so? It's the lack of light. So my chickens don't have, I think they need something like 16 hours of light a day or something to lay. So they're not laying because of that. Now I could turn on a light in there and I would biohack and I would make them lay more eggs, and they might get sicker later. Their bodies might fail them sooner. They might not live as long. They might not be like as healthy because there's a consequence to biohacking. So that's just chickens. Like, can you just even imagine these blue lights that we know don't foster health in the way that we're supposed to be healthy and living, right? We like wake children up to an alarm, or we wake ourselves up to an alarm, which already causes a cortisol spike. And we go to these fucking jobs and schools where we're sitting inside or in these fluorescent lights. Like, I can't even walk into Walmart. The place is hell on earth for me. Walmarts, Targets, anywhere with those really bright overhead fluorescent lighting. God, I revert to like fucking a child. I need to get out of there immediately. I can't even think straight. But anyway, the lights. What are we doing to ourselves? It's not normal. Like, infertility isn't normal. Cancer isn't normal. Seriously debilitating menopause symptoms, they're not normal. Like, this is all your body's desperate attempts to detox and maintain a homeostasis within the environment that you were born into. So again, I said in another video, I think it was what is femininity or something, like what's the divine feminine? Get your ass outside. Let your body know about the season that we're in and the environment that we're in, like, and the soil nutrients and the fungus. You know, they're talk about body responses. You know, when you consider adaptogens, like there is actual mushroom growth, you know, fungal growth in the sites of like Chernobyl and Fukushima that are, it's like this mold that's eating the radiation. And I think about like that mycelium network is all over the world, and you want to be a part of the world, and you want to obtain that same information that the whole world is sharing with itself. And not the world, the earth. You've got to be part of that so that your mitochondria can also speak on your behalf. But we sit inside and we're sedentary. I mean, what? We work jobs where we sit all day and then we pay for gym memberships. Come on now. I don't know. Like, life doesn't have to be that hard. And I think all the time too, you know, it brings me back to the biblical concept of it being a light burden and an easy yoke, or an easy yoke and a light burden. I always forget. But you're like, what was your body designed to do, and how are you sabotaging it? And my mom used to be a nurse, and she would work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And she made so much more money by choosing that shift. But do you know why? Because it was costing her so much. like her sleep and her hormonal system, it costs so much. And then, not to mention the fact that women's bodies aren't even really considered in most of the studies in the past that shape Western medicine today. So that's a whole nother realm that we just don't even appreciate. And we put women on a schedule, like a work schedule or a whatever, that really is just doing an insult to her body. And then later, when she's like in her 30s or 40s, and she's like, this whole way that I'm living is an insult to my being, and if I don't correct it, I am going to fucking die to it, then we act like she's so crazy, but really she's desperate to be back in touch. So you gotta get in touch with the environment. And that's why I'm not really like I'm not a zealot for like parasite cleansing. I definitely appreciate that there are physical and interdimensional parasites that can only be gotten rid of through accountability, through diet, and, whatever form of fasting is warranted. But I mean, like, just like how you're made of good and bad bacteria, and you wouldn't want an overgrowth of like either to cause an imbalance, you just need to recognize that your body consists of so much more than like just your consciousness. Like, so many of the cells of your body isn't even yours. And so it makes you think like, okay, well, they're picking up information from the environment so that I can thrive. But instead, instead of letting myself thrive, I'm going to drive everywhere instead of walking when I can. I'll sit inside. I will not even know what the weather is outside because I will keep my air conditioning cool in the winter. And cool in the summer, and hot, and I'll keep my heat on in the winter. Like, what does that do to us? I know there's a degree to incorporating those kinds of biohacks and creature comforts so that we can enhance our joy. Like, I don't think life is supposed to be all hard work and suffering, but I think we've made it hard work and suffering because we've deviated from wisdom so far and so long. And it was just like that video where I had to, like, I was talking yesterday about how I had to repent in a really, really deep and holistic and comprehensive way so that I could get out of this crazy situation and vibrate in a way where it didn't even resonate anymore. And I kind of feel like when it comes to how we use our bodies and relate to our bodies and abuse our bodies, like, I just want to make the current system, the current paradigm, totally obsolete. Like, I would love to contribute to an environment where we get to kind of watch the physiological processes of wisdom and action and be a little more hands-off so that we can really employ that same wisdom to decide how we are called to be stewards of the earth and our own health. Because I just think that our bodies are keeping a collective score, and we're like, I don't want to hear it. Like, we're staying, and how about all of the people who are in marriages that are killing them, or jobs that are killing them, home environments that are not peaceful? You cannot think that you're gonna live in a fight or flight, freeze or fawn, nervous state of survival, and that your body is not going to witness against you. You can't subject yourselves. Those are situations that you're supposed to listen to your body and go, okay, I gotta get out of here. Like, it took me 2 years. 2 years. When I realized that somebody who was imbalanced turned into somebody who was abusive, it took me 2 years to like address everything I needed to address so that I could detach completely. And that's what I think we all need to do right now. We need to take the time to hold space for our own grief, hold space for the time that we need to visit some beliefs that we carry, because there's a lot of things. How many times have you heard, especially as a mother, like, there's some awful ingredient in this food that your child freaking loves. And you're like, oh shit, I'm not ready to know that yet. So it takes time, because if you dive into, we need a complete overhaul, like, you might go with it. You know what I mean? Like, you might get just washed away with everything that needs to get washed away because you haven't done your due diligence yet, so that you can not just envision, but start to embody a way of life that just warrants all these insults to life. It just makes them obsolete. An intentional obsolescence of the things that insult life. And a collective and individual body scan, like body assessment, I think can really, really help us to navigate the path toward wisdom. Because, when you read, one of my favorite books in the Apocrypha is Two Esdras, and it talks about how this world is for many and the next for very few. And I'm not really of the mindset that, like I think that biblical revelations is playing out in a contrived way. I think that the concept of ascension, I think it's really actually supposed to be more of a grounding thing, like a grounding thing. But anyway, I just think that what I'm getting at is that it warrants the situation we find ourselves in. Like, it's not okay. It's not okay that some people of the world have more than they could ever need, and then some people are starving to death before our eyes. It's not okay that resources, like some countries, are raped for resources. It's not okay that when we find ourselves in collectively hard situations, there are always angels that emerge, but you can also always count on some demographic of human beings just making it worse, making a hard time worse. And I just feel like we have so many weeds to pull from our collective garden, in terms of what behaviors should remain and what bloodlines should remain. Or, I think there's validity to the New Testament concept that a race of chosen people is going to be a spiritual race more, because I think a lot of people have adhered to cultural norms, and like Terence McKenna said, culture's not always your friend. So there is a spiritual race of people that are vetting their cultures and that are applying logic and wisdom to the vetting process of this assessment of what is normal behavior and what is not. And it's a shame too, because you can individually be on a path of wisdom and it can be working for you and you can see the benefits of it, and then sometimes you still have to cooperate with people who are not, and you still have to deal with the entropy that arises from a lack of appreciation for wise ways of living. And I used to think that all paths were valid. Like, no matter who you wanted to be, whatever you wanted to do, you were here to explore on Earth in this free will zone, and all paths were valid so that you could work out whatever karmic lessons and blessings you needed to work out. But I don't feel that way anymore. I actually think that on an ego level, like, all paths are valid because we, like reckless little children, need to make mistakes. But at a certain point, when you've realized the ways that you've been sabotaging yourself and the collective and the earth, and you repent, you decide that you want to walk in wisdom, and there really is like a calculation for that. And there is a wise way out of whatever situation you find yourself in. And I know it's a subjective thing. It's not like a formula you can follow necessarily always, because you have to incorporate and try to qualify and quantify things that are not tangible. But Um, yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm getting at. And I won't talk any. I'm not going to ramble anymore. But I just think that collectively we need to think about how we're operating, and I don't think it's in wisdom. And I think that our bodies and the rate of cancer, the rate of immunological issues, the rate of thyroid issues, the rate of liver issues, the rate of just chronic fatigue, the rate of the amount of people who have even unexplained illnesses. Like, we're just creating an environment that's killing us energetically, physically, biologically. So in order to transcend the flesh, I really think we have to dive into what it means to actually fully embody it. I don't think that a lot of us are. I think we're doing things that are insults to our hormones, insults to our spirit. And yeah, I just think that moving forward, consider your body, get to know how your body works, how your mitochondria works. And if you want to talk more about this, like, I'm open to talk. You know, I'm very fascinated by the ways that you can nourish the vessel so that it can be the vehicle you need for your soul to thrive. Because the body isn't just a meat suit. It's like more important than that. Anyway, I love you. I hope you feel well. I hope you get yourself outside today. Put your feet on the earth and your sun in your face. Show the people you love that you love them. Be authentic. Have the hard conversations that you need to have. And pay close attention to your body's responses. It's really wise, and it lets you know so much. So anyway, much love. Take care.